Good morning! Coming to you live from Axe Media Group headquarters here in the beautiful Springfield, Missouri. It's the Morning Drive. It's Matt and Jay with your hosts, Matt and Jay. Glad to have you guys on board with us today. Beautiful day. It's cold out there. The weather outside is frightful. But Jay, the fire, it's so delightful. I couldn't remember the rest of the words of that Christmas song.
Go, let it snow, let it snow,
Let it snow.
Only nicer than that.
Nicer, beautifuler. I don't know, that's beautiful, Jay. That's beautiful.
Like the voice of an angel.
Like the voice of an angel. All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Drive with Matt and Jay. My name is Matt.
My name is Jay.
Glad to have everybody with us today. Now, Jay's button is hidden because for some reason he likes to hide the button.
What?
Mr. Rogers on my chest here because it's National World Kindness Day.
And we like world kindness.
Yeah, we do. Probably wonder what I'm doing with all these mints. I feel like having mints floating in my coffee today. I didn't know they floated until just before I said that.
What does it look like when it dissolves?
I don't know, but I'm sure it tastes
Chocolate mint coffee.
hazelnut chocolate mint.
What?
Yeah, I put a little bit of everything in it.
What?
What? That's crazy. That's crazy stuff.
It's time for a commercial.
Is it time for a commercial? I got to turn on axradio.com.
Hey, let's do that. So, coldest temperature I've ever rode in today.
It was a record-breaking 20 degrees outside without the wind chill, which is probably in the negatives if you count the wind chill. Bloop.
At 45 it is.
Makes you jealous I can do that, huh?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everybody on axradio.com. This is Matt, and we are already live on Axe Media Group's Facebook page and our
YouTube channel.
Thank you very much for that YouTube channel. Yeah.
YouTube channel.
.bz.
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 And hashtag.
Hashtag and hashtag. That was a whole thing, wasn't it?
It was. It still is. Comes up once in a while. Still popular. Popular in this room.
Yeah, it is. It's popular.
Popular in this room. Hey, I parked my car.
In the Harvard yard.
No.
In the
I park it
garage?
next to the barn where I keep my horses.
Ah, yes.
I take the horses to Walmart.
Do you now?
There's no place to park at Walmart.
Oh, there you go there, don't you?
If you're riding a horse,
Oh,
they
you
don't
got
have
to
a
be
parking
riding that. You know, it's still highly illegal to honk your horn behind a horse on the road.
Is it?
Yeah. You could kill somebody doing that.
Yeah, because the horse could freak out.
Coach could be like, okay, what's this horn
Back to
going
the
on
barn,
right here?
Back to the barn. Let's get there.
Nay.
Where's the barn? Where's the barn? That's what the horse
It's
is
right
saying.
next to the yard. It's on
Right
the
next
edge of
to
the yard.
Next to the driveway, the garage.
Yeah, definitely. Only on the driveway and
Right.
only on Sundays.
Only on Sundays, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely on Sundays.
Hey, don't get me started.
So Steve McAllister found out that his engine block was cracked,
Out.
but he is safe and sound. He's got an arrangement to fix his other vehicle, which had tie rods that were bad. I'm just throwing him out on blast today. But
Right,
the prayers
right,
worked. He got there okay, and it was safe and sound.
I saw people out just rescuing people. That was what they do.
That's hey.
That's how the vehicles were
Jay,
set up for it.
That's what they do, Jay.
Big gas cans on the back and stuff.
You said you're like, man, that's a nice luggage rack, and I was like, yeah, nice rack.
Yeah. Because you're dirty.
You know,
got a dirty mind.
You know, you're getting up there in age when you appreciate things like luggage racks.
Yeah.
Like, do you shop for ointment in the grocery store?
No.
These things are floating still.
I take pretty good medicine. The medicine I take really works. It's
and if you
effective.
don't have that medicine, you know what else is good?
What?
Super Hemp Balm on Natural Solutions Store.
.bz.
.bz, that's right.
Bring it down.
Bring it down.
.bz.
All right, so good mornings
Oh,
out
is it
to
time?
Good mornings out to Susan Burrows.
Good morning, Susan.
Steve McAllister says he loves hazelnut.
Steve McAllister.
Hello, Susan, he says. Linda Fleetwood says, good morning, fellas, with a
Good morning,
smile on
Linda.
his face.
We love you.
Good to see you. Welcome
your
to the
hugs.
party. David Holland, that's a.k.a. Scooter, Scootatious, Scott Holland is on with us. Marsha Holland, his wife, his booler, is listening as well. Steve McAllister says, .bz.
.bz, Steve.
.bz. I'm so excited about Thanksgiving.
Me too. Oh, I can't wait
Yeah,
to
so
eat.
much to... no, seriously, we really do have a lot to be thankful for.
No kidding.
I mean,
Salvation.
salvation.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Heavenly Father.
So, you know that the Christmas we celebrate in the wintertime. Now, I was listening to a commentary, and there's one thing. I wish I could, like, talk to him and ask him questions. Because Darius Matlock's on with us. Good morning.
.bz.
Because,
Questions. Hashtag.
and hashtag. Hash browns.
Hashtag.
Hash browns. And hashtag.
I can hashtag wherever I want.
Yeah, you can. Hashtag.
I don't have to. I don't have to say it's an end.
Justin
hashtag.
Timberlake.
I just have to end it with a
Justin
hashtag.
Timberlake and
Hashtag.
what's his face did a whole entire skit on it.
Did they?
We're like hashtag hashtag blessed, you know. But
He's funny.
what was I saying? What was I saying? Oh, Christmas. You know, Jesus wasn't born in the wintertime.
In December?
No,
You sure?
positive.
You sure?
Positive.
You sure?
But of course, it was.
Hashtag.
It would have been summertime. I don't know if summertime in the Middle East is wintertime here. That's possible, right?
You sure?
I don't know. Am I?
Yeah, because they're south of the equator. We're north.
Ah.
Well, they're about right on it. I think they're. Yeah, I think they're. Well, I don't know. Let's check.
I'm going to start putting those mints in my coffee
They might
every
be
morning.
just north of the equator.
I dropped like 5 of these mints, these
They're just
peppermints,
outside of the.
in my coffee, and they floated for a little while, and now there's these little bits that
They
whenever you...
floated. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
What? All right. So Israel is north of the equator.
Okay, so
Israel is about the same.
it's on the same side of the
as
equator as we are.
Mexico, southern, central Mexico.
Centro
It's about the
Mexicanos. Good morning. Darius Matlock says good morning. Scott says Marcia says working on your pie today. Yay! We love pie.
.bz.
Are both of you coming for Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Yes. I have to work that night, and the night before, and that
I'll
night
probably
after.
be invited to my brother's, but I will accept your invitation first.
Steve, thank you, Steve. You big sweetie.
.bz.
He says, I'm thankful for God, but both of you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Amen.
Great guy. Great guy. We're glad you didn't freeze to death on the side of the freeway
We
yesterday.
are glad.
Marsha Holland says, I heard he was born in July. I'm going to look it up. He was born, yes, because you didn't want to get caught traveling in the Middle East in the wintertime because it got really cold. It's desert-like area, and it gets cold at night there anyways. Could you imagine trying to haul a pregnant lady on an ass all the way to Bethlehem in the wintertime? You really didn't think that through, did you?
No.
You had that. Well, it's out there now.
.bz.
Dot Belchy.
Ooh, a new one.
Ooh. Dot.
My apologies, Matt.
No, it's all right. You know,
That was rude.
my feelings aren't hurt.
Yes, and it
Reba.
wasn't. I did not mean it in an irreverent way. I meant it
Shasta?
in no reference to the conversation.
I'm going to go ahead and confirm Blake as a friend. Just see what happens.
Did he friend you?
Yeah, it's been there for like 2 weeks now.
Has it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Steve Schultz joined us. Good morning. Shasta Dawn.
So you know any good love stories?
I do, Jay. I'm glad you asked. You know why I'm glad?
You know I love love
Because
stories.
I do. You love love. Now, this won't be a romantic comedy. I'm pretty sure there were funny times in their lives, but they don't mention it in Scripture. But we're talking about
Ruth.
the Book of Ruth. How did you know?
Yeah.
Because
And I like Naomi. I'm curious about Naomi.
His birth is celebrated in December. That is correct. It is celebrated in December.
It
And you
is.
know what? It doesn't matter what day you celebrate it. The matter of the fact is that
I
we
celebrate his birth every day.
Amen.
If you're thankful to God for anything, you should be thankful for
Amen,
Jesus.
Jay.
Thankful for Jesus.
So we got, Marcia says, hello, Angie. But I don't see Angie.
Hello, Angie.
Who's Angie?
I don't see Angie either.
Angie walks with me. Anyways. That's
Doc
terrible.
BZ.
That's terrible, isn't it?
What is?
Well, I mean, I always told that joke beforehand. You know,
Andy. Oh, yeah.
I think originally it was a blonde joke. But like, so this guy, or it was a guy, I can't remember, dies, goes to heaven, and standing in line with a bunch of people. And St. Peter says, if you answer one question right, I'm going to ask you a question. If you answer it right, come on in. So the first guy comes up and says, who was Jesus' mother? I mean, they're pretty easy questions.
Mary.
Mary, come on in. Next one comes up. What was the supper that Jesus ate before going to the Garden of Gethsemane?
The Last Supper.
The Last Supper. Come on in.
Yay.
Said,
I made it.
okay, so now what's God's name, real name?
Andy.
He's like, Andy? What are you talking about? Yeah, Andy walks with me, Andy talks with me, and he tells me I am his own.
Zone.
You know what's really fun is standing next to him at church whenever we're singing. Because you can kind of hear that sometimes he'll just be like, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, if I don't know the words.
You know what? And you don't need to know the words. The heart. The heart.
And I do have one.
Do you remember that as a kid?
I know you usually kiss me. I never faked that.
I didn't either. Well, I did sometime. There was one time I got grounded and I wanted to make my parents feel bad, so I started singing Losing My Religion by R.E.M.
Yeah.
Really loud, like sobbing at the same time. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Losing my religion. You know, it didn't work. It didn't work.
I'm sure it didn't. I'm sure they cracked up.
I hadn't lost my religion, but
I would laugh. I would laugh so hard.
you know, I'm gonna start putting those mints in there all the time. That is delish. That's delicious.
I got to have my son and his girlfriend with me for
Angie
a couple
Terror
days.
Brood.
And their cat.
Welcome to the party.
And their cat.
And the cat.
And their cat. They have a cat.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had to put the dogs outside so they wouldn't eat the cat because they eat small animals.
Yeah, they do. Well, they don't eat them.
No, but they torture them.
They just kill them.
Yeah.
No, they kill them quick.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's nice to know that if there's ever any bandits that are dressed up like small animals, they won't make it past the backyard.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't want my dogs to be guard dogs.
no. And they're not. They do bark a lot. So they can be guard dogs without being guard dogs.
Take everything you want. Don't kick my dog.
You kick my dog? You know, you've seen how well it worked for the people that mess with John Wick's dog.
Yes.
So-
That's exactly right.
Just saying.
And I'm that guy.
Steve says, dad joke. It is a dad joke.
What is? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Andy walks with me. Like that. And the classic dad, you know what? We're going to do a couple of
Let's do some dad jokes.
classic dad jokes. There actually used to be an app that's all it was, but I don't think anybody wanted to maintain it, so it kind of went
Huh.
dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
I should say dad jokes for kids because I don't want them to be dirty dad jokes.
Right. Because dads do have some dirty jokes. Some dads.
Number one. I'm reading them first before I read them out loud. Today, my son asked, "Can I have a bookmark?" And I burst into tears. 11 years old, and he still doesn't know my name is Brian. My favorite joke that we ever told on the air was when we were reading those cheesy punny jokes, and it said, "What did one fish say to the other in the tank or whatever?"
There were two fish in a tank, and the one fish says to the other tank, the other fish, "How do you drive this thing?"
Yeah, and then two men are in a tank.
Two soldiers.
And one said to the other, "Blue, blue, blee, blue, 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 blue." And I was like, "Oh!"
So David Scott Holland, he says, "I'm going to get you going, Matt, for Thanksgiving for Mom."
Oh.
He's already started. You're already started. He just kick-started your start thing.
This is a great one. I love this. My wife is really mad at the fact that I have no sense of direction, so I packed up my stuff and right. And left.
Oh,
Right. No sense of direction. Dad, I was just listening to the radio on my way into town. Apparently, an actress just killed herself. Mom, oh my! Who? Dad, I can't remember. I think her name was Reese something. Mom, Witherspoon? Dad, no, it was with a knife. Get it, Reese Witherspoon?
right.
With a knife.
Yeah.
Goes out with it.
Good one.
Yeah. But you
She's
heard
a beautiful woman, that Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Even in her old age.
Yeah.
She's actually, I think, just a little bit older than I am. Okay, so this is one of my... Now, Dad made this joke cool before anybody ever writ it down.
Yeah.
How do you make holy water? This is number 4. You boil the hell out of it.
You know, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. I'll tell you the one
Most
that...
people want it blessed by a
I'll
priest.
tell you one that a very prominent figure at Acts Ministry told me, but I'm not going to say it on the air. But it has to do with how do you make kidneys, or how do you cook kidneys? You boil the out of it. Boil the pee out of it.
Yeah. Wah, wah,
Wah,
wah, wah.
Anyways, I bought some shoes from a drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I was tripping all day. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Karen McIntyre, good morning. We got 9.5 inches of snow. It is 8. The broken record says in 1941.
What is this?
Karen McIntyre said, good morning. We got 9.5 inches of snow. 8 inches is the record from 1941.
And where is this?
I'm not sure. Steve Schultz just sends one word. Bad. All right.
Steve Schultz. You don't know.
Did you know, Jay, did you know that the first French fries weren't actually cooked in France? They were cooked in Greece.
That sounds France.
I actually said that. I'll tell you guys this. He said something in some weird sounding language, and I said, that sounds France.
Who said it?
I said that to you.
Oh.
I said, that sounds France.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of that sounds French, because that's just how it came out.
I can say
Dad,
one thing in
Karen
French, and
McIntyre's
I won't say it.
talking about that snowed 9.5 inches there in Michigan there.
In Michigan, 9.5
Or
inches.
basi-
In Michigan is
In
the record?
Canada. Yeah, in Canada, it snowed 9.5 inches.
The Canadian record for snow is 8 inches?
Yeah, you'd think
9
it'd be
inches.
more than that.
9.5 inches. Oh, is that a joke?
If a child refuses to sleep during nap time, are they guilty of resisting arrest?
Yes.
That's a good one. These are good ones.
Oh, a kid refuses to take a nap. Is that resisting arrest? I should ask some of the police that come in.
So, here's a pretty good one. I think this one's pretty good. They're all super cheesy.
You know they'll all
Steve
say
Schultz
yes
says,
to
bad jokes, Jay. Just bad.
You bad, Mr. Steve
The
Schultz.
Secret Service isn't allowed to yell, get down, anymore when the president is about to be attacked. Now they have to yell, Donald Duck. I think it's funny watching you work it out.
Oh.
Donald Duck.
Good duck.
Did that quack you up?
I
added to that one. Yeah.
Nice. Brilliant.
Long distance high five. That was almost painful for you guys to watch.
This is
wasn't it?
the long distance handshake, but that's the fun.
No, this is motorcycle. How you doing when you're on your motorcycle?
I just wave however I want.
You just point down to the ground. Hey, there's ground there.
Hey. No,
All right.
No. If you point at the road, that means there's something in the road on this side of you.
Well,
so you point like this, and they'll know which side of the road that.
No, but I
has
see
it
them
from.
waving at each other all the time.
Yeah, but you don't point.
No,
It's
they're like
two fingers.
They're like
it's 2 fingers, 3 fingers, or 4 fingers for your wave. But if you point down at the road, you're telling the motorcyclist that there's something in the road to avoid.
oh, see, I
Like a
didn't know
screw, a bolt, a
And
nut, a glass.
that. We need one of those star things that goes. The more you know. One more. Actually, we'll do 2 more, and then we'll do a commercial, and then we're going to read the Book of Ruth. I'm reading this book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down.
It's good.
Number 10.
So if a kid refuses to take a nap, is he guilty of resisting arrest? I like that.
That's a good one, yeah.
I have to remember that.
What do you call someone with no body, and no nose?
What?
What do you call someone with no body and no nose?
A no-nose body?
Nobody knows.
Ah.
Okay, one more. I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know.
That's good.
I think I'll leave it on that one, except for what's the least spoken language in the world?
I don't know.
Sign language. Because it's not spoken at all. My daughter screams, "Dad, you haven't listened to the one word I've said, have you?" What a strange way to start a conversation with me. All right, now on that, we'll leave that one be.
That's a good one.
10 rules to getting rid of the blues. Go out and do something for someone and repeat it 9 times.
Susan Burrows.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got. There's been a conversation going on. Kara McIntyre says, because it's so early, we had November 11. We had 11 last snowstorm was November 9. I guess the record was 11. Oh, the last storm was November 13th, 1941 was whenever it set the record, and then they just broke it. Now, that was funny, Steve Schultz says. It's not nice to point, Steve says. Then Susan says 10 rules to getting rid of the blues. Go and do something for someone and repeat it 9 times. That works. All right, so let's do a commercial, eh? You want to do a commercial?
I'm ready if you are.
I'm ready. Wipe!
You're there.
Hey, everybody, Matt here on the Morning Drive. I'm going to take this off of here so you can see the button that we're wearing. Compliments of Amber Buckley, Wiegand Buckley.
Yep.
From the Something to Celebrate.
Host of Something
She
to
had these
Celebrate.
buttons made, I believe, and gave us each one. Jay's wearing one as well. It is World Kindness Day.
Yeah, World Kindness
So-
Day. That's today.
Yeah, I mean, if that can be even slightly effective, it'll make the world a better place, at least for one day.
Yes.
So,
And we know that Mr. Rogers did make a difference. He taught millions of children.
yeah, and he taught millions of children about
Kindness.
diversity and loving people regardless of their ethnicity, responsibility, and the importance. Also taught us how to use our imagination.
Yeah.
The guy had a bunch of voices in his head, so he put them on puppets, and
Careful thinking, considering other
absolutely.
people, because he came into the house and changed his shoes. He wasn't tracking everything from outside into the house and all around.
yeah.
And
So
then he would even sweep the floor.
we'll hold that
Did
for
you know
whenever.
that?
Well, yes, he would. We're gonna have that conversation whenever it's not just on my face.
That was pretty cool, man.
So today's show is brought to you by NaturalSolutionStore.bz. All right, so
.bz.
do you feel lethargic?
Yes. .bz.
Do you have problems with your
Yes.
liver having problems?
No.
Do you have problems with your liver having problems?
No.
No? Well, where do I go with that? Anyways, I got to find it.
I thought you had more questions. I was ready to answer the question.
You were, weren't you? So if you feel lethargic and you're having problems with weight gain and you're just feeling, then you might need a liver support supplement. All right. A healthy liver is an essential part of maintaining optimum health. Now, Natural Solutions Store.bz's Liver Cleanse is designed to support the body and rid it of irritants. Such irritants may be caused by alcohol, sugar, stress, or a poor diet. Now, normally your liver removes toxins from your blood, and an overload of waste, alcohol, and pollutants can result in an infection of harmful bacteria. Now, the liver's importance is underlined by the fact that it's the largest internal organ on the human body. Although it can function with up to 75% of the organ disease or non-existent, it will not be as successful at eliminating the elements from the toxic elements from your body. A poorly functioning liver will not produce enough bile, meaning that the proper absorption of the nutrients, digestion of food, and metabolism of fat is prevented. Now, Liver Cleanse is made up of various herbs that support the liver and kidneys. Now, obviously, these capsules don't contain any artificial ingredients or common allergens. You know, you wouldn't want to put toxins in your body while you're trying to remove them. That would be crazy. So rapidly repair, protect, and detoxify your liver with Liver Cleanse from Natural Solutions Store.
.bz.
That's right. Back to you guys. All right.
That was an awkward smile.
That was. I made it a point to make it an awkward smile, just because, you know, awkwardness. Now, the show coming up today after hours, after our show, will be the New Gold Standard with Tony Hammock.
Darius Matlock.
Darius Matlock is a driver. He has rededicated his life to Christ. Oh. You know, he used to be hard into drugs too. Him and I talked last night. We talk all the time whenever he comes through, and we
fellowship.
Well, yeah, fellowship. I think we even talked about that, didn't we, Darius? Talking about for snake snot, the fellowship of the saints.
Right.
It's important to fellowship with the saints.
Yeah. People have been getting bolder and bolder. As a cashier, I see changes in things like that.
Yeah.
People are getting more and more bold about saying "God bless you" just outright, and saying the name of Jesus outright, right in front of people.
People say, "How you doing?" God is good. That is the best way to respond to that.
Yeah.
And you know, Darius had brought up a topic that we hadn't brought up in a long time, and that is, you know, we talked about how scary it is to share Jesus with people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well, it's a big responsibility. You don't want to mess up.
Right.
But you do.
But you know what? You just got to give it to God. And, you know,
trust.
You got to think of it like this, and I agree with this 100%. People can argue Scripture with you all day long and argue about the underlying meanings and this, that, and the other. But you know what they can't argue is your testimony and what God has done in your life through Jesus Christ using the power of the Holy Spirit.
Yes, and I know that the day that I first believed was not a planned, orchestrated argument or discussion.
Right.
Something just occurred and unfolded in front of me, and I saw God.
Yeah.
I didn't see him, but I mean, I saw his and felt his presence. And I knew then.
I wonder, okay, so I don't know how many chapters are in the book of Ruth.
It's not very many.
But I think I'm gonna change the version, and I'm reading here, and I'm gonna go to the New Living Translation. I love the NLT as well. And I've got a parallel Bible that has New Living Translation on one side and on the same page, and then right next to it, everything in King James. Elimelech moves his family to Moab. Are you, okay, so, all right, are you there?
Yeah.
Now, this is a New Living Translation.
Oh, wait a minute. So there are 22 chapters in Ruth.
Okay, so we won't be able to finish it all today. But we can get started on it. I think we should finish this out.
No, I was wrong.
I think we should finish this out throughout the rest of this week because it's a really good book and it's a really good story.
There are 4 chapters.
And I think that people need to spend more time talking about the prominent women in the Bible because these women are outstanding.
I think prominent men and women. I think our society needs to revisit the examples that taught us about God and faith.
Now, in the days of the judges, in the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a severe famine came upon the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah left his home and went to live in the country of Moab, taking his wife and 2 sons with him. This man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. Okay, so this is King David's great-great-great-great-grandmother.
We don't know how many greats exactly.
It's pretty great though.
It's like 4. It's not very many.
Their 2 sons were Mahalan and Kilion, and they were
Malan,
Ephrathites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And when they reached Moab, they settled there. Then Elimelech died, and Naomi, I think I'm reading that right, and then Naomi was left with her 2 sons. The 2 sons married Moabite women. So these are Gentile women. These are not Jewish women. Okay, moving on. One married a woman named Orpah, not Oprah, sorry, don't sue us. And the other woman named Ruth. But about 10 years later, both Mahalan and Kilion died. They left Naomi alone without her 2 sons or her husband. So now what's this lady going to do, Jay? What's she going to do?
This is Naomi.
This is Naomi. Verse 6, Then Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had blessed his people in Judah by giving them good crops again. So Naomi and her daughters-in-law got ready to leave Moab to return to her homeland. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she set out from the place where she had been living, and they took the road that would lead them back to Judah. But on the way, Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go back to your mother's home, and may the Lord reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me. So, we're at verse 9. So that's another thing to point out. These women stayed with Naomi and helped to take care of her. Otherwise, Naomi would have been by herself, all alone.
Yeah.
The women, by all rights, could have just went and left right away. Anyways, verse 9. May the Lord bless you with the security of another marriage. Then she kissed them goodbye, and they broke down and wept. They all broke down and wept. No, they said, we want to go with you to your people. But Naomi replied, Why should you go with me? Can I still give birth to other sons who could grow up and be your husbands? Because that was the culture back then. No, my daughters, return to your parents' homes, for I am too old to marry again. And even if it were possible, and I were to get married tonight and bear sons, then what? Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to marry someone else? No, of course not. My daughters, things are far more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord himself has raised his fist against me. Of course, she might be feeling a little bit stressed out at this point. Yeah.
What an amazing woman this is, though. You can see the affection for her that these women have, and how does that kind of an affection and openness develop? What a tremendous, tremendous woman. I wish we knew more about Naomi.
I'm pretty sure that her story is out there somewhere in the records of Judah, somewhere.
Yeah, because this tells us a lot about her still.
So this says, and then again, then they wept together, again.
Yeah.
And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung tightly to Naomi. Look, Naomi said to her, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. You should do the same. But Ruth replied, verse 16, don't ask me to leave you and turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. That's a declaration, an agreement with the Lord.
Yeah.
I know that's the fan you're hearing. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. Because once she made that declaration to the Lord,
Yeah, how could you do that to
you
somebody?
can't do it a break, because she said, may death
To me.
be the only thing that separates.
And it wasn't to her. It wasn't to Naomi. It was to God.
All right. So the two of them continued on their journey, and when they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was excited by their arrival. Is it really Naomi? The women asked.
See what I mean?
Yeah, so the whole entire town knew who she was.
What kind of woman was this?
She was a matriarch like you would not believe.
Yes.
Don't call me Naomi, she responded. Instead, call me Mara, for the Almighty has made life very bitter for me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me home empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has caused me to suffer, and the Almighty has sent such tragedy upon me?
So what does Naomi mean?
I don't know. You could probably look that up. Verse 22, so Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, the young Moabite woman. Then they arrived in Bethlehem in late spring at the beginning of the barley harvest. So, and my next study that I'm going to do is actually in Deuteronomy, because that's the law, right? There's law that there was a law back then that
How do I spell Naomi?
Naomi. The law was that you had to allow you had to have, if you had grain fields, you had to have, or fruit or anything like that, you had to have them close enough to the road or have no fences so that passers-by could pluck food and eat. Basically, it was law for you to have stuff available to help hungry people on their way.
It means pleasantness
I can agree with that.
in Hebrew.
Let's do a double check on our stuff here, on our, what you call it. Steve McAllister says, I can't wait to be back, which could be this Friday. As long as everything's all running good. But back we go. Chapter 2. Ruth works in Boaz's field. Now, okay, so you remember when I was telling you that there was a linear curse on, I thought it was actually Jehoiakim or something like that. He tried to overthrow Judah and declared himself a king. He was just a terrible, terrible, terrible person. And the Lord said, no, none of your line will ever rule.
Where is this about?
None of your blood will ever rule again.
Where is this?
This is how God went.
No, I mean,
got
where do
around
we
it.
find that story about that?
2 Kings, 1st or 2nd Kings. I'll look it up, but yeah, if it wasn't for God, for Naomi and Ruth and Boaz, David wouldn't have been able to
Eligible.
rule. Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to rule, and then Jesus wouldn't have been able to. You know,
Right.
so God looks ahead. So, chapter 2, verse 1, now there was a wealthy and an influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. Right?
And this man,
He was upstanding as well.
his story tells me, too, that Naomi's husband, who was related to this man, somehow in this family, there's a tremendous witness that is influential throughout.
Yeah. So, one day Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go out into the harvest fields to pick up some stalks of grain left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it. Okay, so that was another law there, was that you couldn't strip your field bare. You had to leave stuff behind
For the widows and
for
orphans
the widows, orphans, and poor people
and the elderly.
and the elderly. So I'm loving their laws.
Yeah.
Their laws was to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to eat and to do something. But in order to do it, in order to eat, they had to get up and work and pick it up themselves.
Yeah.
So Naomi replied, "All right, my daughter, go ahead." So now Naomi is calling her daughter. This is Naomi's daughter now.
Yeah.
So Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters, and as it happened, she found herself working in the field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law, Elimelech. While she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "The Lord be with you," he said. "And the Lord bless you," the harvesters replied. So, this man is of upstanding character as well. Mm-hmm. Then Boaz asked his foreman, "Who is that young woman over there? Who does she belong to?"
Do you think he said it like that?
Probably. And the foreman replied, "She is a young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. She asked this morning if she could gather grain behind the harvesters. She has been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes rest in the shelter." Boaz went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay right here with us, and when you gather grain, don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the young women working in my field. See which part of the field that they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly." So he's basically he basically says, "This woman is under my protection. You guys touch her, you're toast."
Yeah.
I love this story.
Literally, because they're threshing wheat.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought that was funny. "And when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water that they have drawn from the well." Ruth fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. "What have I done to deserve such kindness?" she asked. I am only a foreigner." "Yes, I know," Boaz replied. "But I also know about everything you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband." Now, see, they don't tell about all the stuff she's done specifically for her mother-in-law. But, she took good care of her. She was taking good care of her. And she wasn't out there gathering grain just for herself. She was also gathering it for Naomi. So she really loved her mother-in-law. And you know how hard that is for men to do and women to do is nowadays.
So it seems like if he knew so much about her, I wonder if it wasn't that he just saw a beautiful woman and said, "Who is that woman?" I think he may have been looking for her, because this kind of says a little bit more.
We heard about her.
Right, and so he may have been looking for her and said, and knew of her character first, and said, "Who is this woman?" and looked for her.
Right. Exactly. Well, he probably heard on the way, "Naomi's back. Didn't you hear?"
He probably already knew
She
who
brought
and where
this
she was.
beautiful woman with her. You should meet her.
Woman of great character.
Woman of great character. All right. So, "Yes, I know," Boaz replied. "But also, I know everything about you, I know about everything that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband." So he did know about her. Mm-hmm. "I have heard how you left your father and mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers."
See what I mean? So I think he was looking for her.
Yeah. "May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done."
So she accepted
I hope, yeah.
the God of Israel, and he knew that too.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. She uprooted herself, and she put away the old gods. And her old gods, the gods that she worshipped when she was younger, and cast them aside, and her whole entire family to be with godly people and worship the one true God. Mm-hmm. And that just goes to show you that the Lord rewards people. The Lord
choose him.
Yes.
And choose the right thing.
At
great expense, too.
Yeah. "I hope I continue to please you, sir," she replied. "You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I am not one of your workers." At mealtime, Boaz called to her, "Come over here and help yourself to some food. You can dip your bread in the sour wine." And so she sat with his harvesters, and Boaz gave her some roasted grain to eat. She ate all she wanted and still had some left over. When Ruth went back to work again, Boaz ordered his young men, "Let her gather grain right among the sheaves without stopping her, and pull out some of the heads of barley from the bundles and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up, and don't give her a hard time." And there's an exclamation point there. And don't you give her a hard time, because these were probably rowdy folks, you know.
You know, I imagine he didn't have to express himself that way.
No,
If he said it, I'm sure they knew
we all have this image of him in our minds.
how I would do it.
It was
I'd be
like
don't you?
Him holding his chest out and his shoulders back, and just having a look and an appearance of authority and benevolence.
Right, and I think that sometimes that's the case. It's a character, good character, and faith.
So Ruth gathered barley there all day, verse 17. And when she beat out the grain that evening, it filled her entire basket. She carried it back to town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her the roasted grain that was left over from her meal. "Where did you gather all this grain today?" Naomi asked. "Where did you work? May the Lord bless the one who helped you." So Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in whose field that she had worked. And she said, "The man I worked with today is named Boaz." "May the Lord bless him," Naomi told her daughter-in-law. He is showing his kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. That man is one of our closest relatives, one of our family redeemers." So one of our, she's talking to her about our family redeemers. So she's including Ruth in this. Then Ruth said, "What's more, Boaz even told me to come back and stay with the harvesters until the entire harvest is completed." "Good," Naomi exclaimed. "Do as he said, my daughter. Stay with his young women right through the whole harvest. You might be harassed in other fields, but you will be safe with him." So Ruth worked alongside the women in Boaz fields and gathered grain with them till the end of the barley harvest. Then she continued working with them through the wheat harvest in the early summer, and all the while she lived with her mother-in-law. That's the end of chapter 2. It's time, isn't it?
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow, that disappeared.
Yes, it did.
It's a
So
great
we're going to
story.
continue in Ruth chapter 1 or chapter 3 tomorrow, because now there's going to be a love match setting up here. And there's got to be some legalities to go through, because Boaz isn't technically next in line to receive her, because since her husband died, there needs to be a child to carry on her husband's name.
And that's part of the story.
Yeah, and that is part of the story, and it's really exciting. I suggest that you read ahead, because this is an amazing story. This is one of my favorite stories in the Bible, besides Jesus's.
Yeah. Well, it's made up of really amazing characters. It's not just Ruth.
And it's not made, well, yeah, if you think he meant made up as in pretend, no, it's not. They're not made up. They are,
No, yeah, that's not what I meant.
yeah, I was just
mean,
clarifying for those out there who might have misunderstood.
I mean, the story comes together as a result of
Yeah.
multiple people with amazing character.
And you can see what happens when God moves the hearts of men and women. And also,
Yeah.
but then it also goes to show you, if you have that upstanding character, you will get help.
Right?
But you know what? Naomi would have done the same thing as Boaz did if she had the right of it. You know what I mean? If it was Naomi's field,
Right.
she would have done the same thing that Boaz did
Right.
to anybody, probably.
I would think, yeah.
So Scott said that's an awesome story. It is an awesome story. We're going to continue reading it tomorrow.
See, I love the little nuances about it when it talks about when she came home after the famine and came home, how
Yeah.
she was received and everybody knew her.
Yeah.
That tells you,
Is that Naomi?
that just tells you a lot about the story, who
Yeah.
she must have been.
And
Who
I'm
she
pretty
must have
sure
been
that
like,
they
and I
were
love that.
prominent figures in the church as well.
Yeah, and she was Ruth's mentor.
Mm-hmm.
She must have been Ruth's mentor. So Ruth learned a lot of these
Yeah.
things from.
And she
I
was
mean,
Ruth's mom.
chose to worship God of Naomi. So
Yeah.
Naomi must have been a faithful woman whose witnessed of God
Mm.
and God's own character.
Well, as much as I
Love the
hate,
story.
as much as I hate to say it, it's time for us to go, buddy.
Yep.
But we'll continue on that tomorrow. We're in chapter 3. Help us remember, everybody. That being said, I'm going to wait for the music to get going here. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the Morning Drive today. We'll be back on tomorrow, same time, same channel. Be sure and tune in next for the new gold standard with Tony Hammock. It's going to be a good time. So until then, my friends, God bless you and keep you. We love you. My name is Matt.
My name is Jay.
And this has been The Morning Drive.